The Victoria's Secret Angels are back. The world's most beautiful women will be gracing the catwalk tonight on CBS.
A Victoria's Secret angel. She's Adriana Lima, and she's one of the hottest commodities to come out of Brazil.
Adriana is gearing up for her 18th show. Her first was back in 1999 as a fresh-faced 17-year-old whom we met backstage.
She was once the most beautiful woman in the world, the angel of Victoria's Secret, the muse of millions, the face that could sell a dream. Her beauty wasn't just admired. It was studied, celebrated, and immortalized. Every glance, every pose, every smile was proof that perfection could exist, at least for a moment. But today, the internet can't stop talking about her, and not for the reasons it once did. The woman once called a goddess is now the subject of speculation, mockery, and debate. Is that really Adriana Lima? People ask. Did she have surgery? What happened to her face? Each new photo triggers a storm of comments. Social media threads dissect her body like evidence from a crime scene. Her name trends again, but this time not because of ad campaigns or fashion shows, but because the world believes she's changed. In a single red carpet appearance, the illusion cracked. The woman the world once worshipped for her beauty was suddenly being pulled apart by the same audience that crowned her. What really happened? Was it age, motherhood, or surgery? Or is there something deeper, something darker, about the way we build icons just to destroy them once they start to look human? This is the story of Adriana Lima, the supermodel the world can't stop staring at again. A woman once seen as divine, now being forced to face what the world fears most: time. Unrecognizable. The myth of Adriana. Before the headlines, before the whispers, there was only her, Adriana Lima. A name that would soon define beauty for an entire generation. She wasn't born into glamour. She came from Salvador, Brazil, a city of sun, salt, and rhythm. Her childhood was simple, filled with the noise of crowded markets and the quiet of dreams too big for her small world. But fate has a strange way of finding those who least expect it. At 15, she entered a modeling contest almost by accident, to support a friend. Yet, it was Adriana who caught the judges' eyes. Within months, her face was everywhere. By 19, she was no longer just another model. She was the standard. Her features, the ocean blue eyes, the sculpted lips, the quiet strength, seemed almost supernatural. In 1999, Victoria's Secret found her. The world found its angel. The runway lights turned her into a legend. She didn't just walk, she floated. Her presence was magnetic. Every flick of her hair, every turn of her head became an event. The cameras adored her, and millions of viewers believed they were witnessing perfection itself. But behind that glamour was a kind of sacrifice few could imagine. Adriana trained like an athlete, punishing her body in pursuit of flawlessness. She boxed at dawn, fasted for days before shows, even stopped drinking water 12 hours before stepping on stage, so her muscles would tighten, her skin would gleam. It wasn't vanity, it was survival in a world that demanded more than human perfection. To the public, she was untouchable, the last true supermodel. Teenagers taped her photos to their mirrors. Magazines crowned her the most beautiful woman alive, and brands built empires around her name. She became both saint and seductress, the perfect balance of innocence and desire. But myths aren't meant to age. They're meant to stay frozen in time. And when the woman behind the myth starts to change, the world doesn't know how to handle it. The cracks begin to show. Perfection, no matter how beautiful, is heavy. And for Adriana Lima, the weight of it began to show. She had carried the image of fantasy for nearly 2 decades. And every year, that fantasy demanded more. Behind the angel wings and camera flashes was a woman who could feel time catching up. Not just on her skin, but on her soul. The first cracks appeared quietly. There were injuries that didn't heal as quickly, exhaustion that lingered for weeks, and the silent pressure of knowing that every appearance, every photo, would be compared to her 20-year-old self. By her 30s, Adriana had become more than a model. She was a mother. 2 pregnancies, 2 recoveries, and a global stage waiting for her just months later. When she returned to the runway, headlines called it a miracle. The audience gasped at how she looked just like before. But behind that applause was pain, physical, emotional, and invisible. She pushed through exhaustion, hormones, and insecurity, terrified of being replaced, terrified of becoming irrelevant. The industry praised her discipline. They called it commitment. But discipline is just another word for control, and control always comes at a cost. In interviews, she spoke softly about balance, faith, and motherhood. But listen closely, and you could hear the fatigue beneath the composure. She once said, "We live in a world where we're trained to think we're never enough." At the time, people thought she was talking about other women. Now it's clear, she was talking about herself. Her face had become the currency of beauty. And like all currencies, its value depended on how the world decided to see it. The internet turns on her. Then came the day when everything changed. One red carpet, one camera flash, one photo that the internet refused to forget. Adriana Lima appeared at the Cannes Film Festival. Glowing, pregnant, and unapologetically herself, she wasn't trying to be the angel anymore. She was simply a woman stepping into a new chapter of life, radiant in her confidence, untouched by the need to perform. But the world wasn't ready for that kind of honesty. The audience that once praised her ethereal perfection suddenly turned cold. The same people who cheered her wings now sharpened their words. They didn't see a woman, but they saw a symbol breaking down. The word unrecognizable erupted across the internet like wildfire. It didn't spread because of curiosity. It spread because of obsession. People zoomed in on screenshots, analyzed every angle, slowed down every clip, searching for proof that time had done something wrong. Twitter threads speculated about fillers and hormones. Instagram comments accused her of ruining herself. Some said she had lost her magic. Others claimed she had betrayed her own beauty. But almost no one stopped to ask the real question. Why did we ever believe her beauty belonged to us? For years, the world had worshipped her body, her face, her control. It dissected her in high definition, judged her in slow motion, and consumed her image like a product that could be owned. Adriana wasn't seen as a person. She was a projection, a mirror for everyone's idea of perfection. And when she dared to change, that illusion cracked. The same culture that built her now demanded an explanation for her evolution. TikTok creators compared her 2005 Victoria's Secret walk to her 2022 photos side by side, their captions dripping with nostalgia and judgment. Thumbnails screamed, "What happened to the angel?" as if change itself were a crime. Videos slowed down the footage to catch micro-expressions, lighting differences, makeup angles, desperate to find a culprit for what was simply nature. But the truth was simple. Time happened, motherhood happened, life happened. Adriana Lima wasn't broken, she was becoming. Yet the internet doesn't understand transformation. It only recognizes contrast. The woman who once represented youth, control, and desire now embodied something softer. And that softness terrified people who had built their fantasies around her permanence. There's a cruel irony in all of this. The same world that once celebrated her for starving herself before a runway now mocked her for looking full, human, alive. We glorify women when they suffer to fit an ideal. but shame them when they stop suffering. We sell youth as empowerment and aging as failure. We claim to love authenticity, yet punish women the moment they show it. For Adriana, it wasn't scandal. It was biology. Her body was doing what every body is meant to do, shifting, adapting, preparing for birth. But empathy isn't trending. Cruelty is. And cruel, when dressed as concern, spreads faster than compassion ever could. Headlines appeared overnight. Fans concerned over Adriana Lima's new face. But concern wasn't what they felt. It was disappointment. The quiet, collective grief of a culture mourning the loss of its illusion. Because she no longer looked like the fantasy they created. The internet wasn't seeing Adriana Lima, the woman. It was seeing the ghost of a perfection it had invented, and now couldn't let go of. Influencers and tabloids dissected her as if she owed them her youth. Some blamed pregnancy, others whispered about surgery. But the truth is simpler, more human, and harder to accept. Beauty changes because people change. Adriana Lima didn't stop being beautiful. She simply became real. And reality has never been easy for a world addicted to fantasy. Every close-up, every pause, every unfiltered photo became evidence in a trial she never agreed to. The same platforms that once amplified her fame now monetized her transformation. The world that used to celebrate her glow now counted her wrinkles like sins. In those endless online discussions, one truth stood out. We don't really want women to age. We want them to remain frozen in the image that comforts us. But Adriana didn't freeze. She evolved. And that's what unsettled everyone. The truth is, Adriana Lima didn't stop being beautiful. We just stopped recognizing beauty when it stopped looking like a memory. The camera lens hadn't betrayed her. Our expectations had. What the internet saw as unrecognizable wasn't the loss of perfection. It was the presence of truth. And the world has never been kind to truth, especially when it wears a woman's face. Redemption and reflection. When the noise faded, Adriana didn't respond with rage or apology. She didn't issue statements or defend herself on talk shows. She did something far more radical. She lived. For the first time in her career, she didn't owe the world an explanation. The photos that the internet mocked, the softer body, the fuller face, weren't a downfall. They were liberation. After decades of performing perfection, she was finally free from it. Adriana began embracing a new version of herself, not the angel, not the flawless icon, but the woman who had survived all of it. At 41, she became a mother again. And in doing so, she turned everything the fashion world told her to fear, age, change, imperfection, into proof of evolution. In interviews, when asked about her comeback, she smiled and said, "I'm still here, just different." That wasn't surrender, that was peace. The woman who once fasted and trained until her body gave out now nourishes her children, her soul, and her silence. The same world that called her unrecognizable was finally seeing her clearly. Not as a fantasy, but as a human being. Maybe that's the real redemption in her story. She didn't lose beauty. She redefined it. She showed that beauty is not a moment in time. It's a truth that changes with us. If being unrecognizable means no longer being trapped in perfection, then maybe it's the most beautiful transformation of all. The price of being seen. They called her unrecognizable. But maybe she just stopped trying to look like the version of herself we refused to let die. For 2 decades, Adriana Lima gave the world everything. Her body, her smile, her silence, until there was nothing left that truly belonged to her. We watched her glow, then punished her for dimming. We turned her body into currency and her humanity into controversy. But time is undefeated. Perfection doesn't age. People do. And maybe the real tragedy isn't that Adriana changed, but that we changed the meaning of beauty so many times, we forgot what it looked like when it was real. So when you see her now, the same eyes, the same soul, in a face the internet no longer recognizes, remember this: she didn't fall. She was set free. Because sometimes, to survive being worshipped, you have to let the world forget who you were. And finally, become who you are.